Not surprisingly, there's a tremendous amount of disappointment. I think to some extent anger, to some extent amazement that this could happen so soon after a previous suspension was completed, and some sadness in the sense that this is having a tremendously adverse effect on a very promising major league career, and that's a shame. But the rules are the rules. We support the rules, and this is the consequence of making bad choices.
Did you have any idea that this was coming down when you made the move for Clippard, or is that just a total coincidence at this point?
We received a call on Monday from Major League Baseball indicating that this may happen today or tomorrow. At that time, the deal for Clippard was essentially done. And so, our track in talking with Oakland about Tyler as well as other players was independent of this situation, but obviously coincidental as well.
Sandy, how does this, you thought you had a surplus of relievers, and obviously now Clippard just replaces Mejia. How does this impact your trade discussions for the rest of this week and the rest of the season?
Well, we're certainly happy with Tyler Clippard. Not only does he give us an accomplished late inning relief pitcher, but also some playoff experience. And if you look at our starting rotation and our bullpen, with the addition of Tyler, I think we have one pitcher with any sort of postseason experience. So, in that sense, although we've lost some volume and some surplus, I think we've still, we've seen an upgrade both in terms of experience and ability. When we went into our discussions about a potential relief pitcher, we were looking at, Familia's done a tremendous job for us, but he's a young guy, and Bobby Parnell is coming back from an injury, and Mejia was not going to be available to us in the postseason. So there were reasons for us to want to upgrade, and it's unfortunate that we don't have ultimately what we had hoped to have in terms of depth. But we like the bottom half of our bullpen. Unfortunately, because of what some of our starters are able to do, we don't see the bottom half that often.
Sandy, can we assume that Mejia's Mets career is finished?
I wouldn't want to be that hasty today, but you just think about the total suspension, when he might be able to return, the commitment that would require from us. It's something we're going to have to think about. Obviously, we're disappointed, and we'll see where it goes.
Sandy, as a follow-up to that question, is part of the decision-making process how much can we trust a player like this after two incidents like this?
Well, I think trust plays a big part. It's not just a matter of trust, it's a matter of reliability. For every player on our roster, there's another player who's not on our roster. And so dependability, consistency, those are all important considerations.
Yeah, Adam?
If I could just look ahead to the trading deadline, do you hope to still get an outfielder before the trade deadline, and how realistic is that, or might you be done?
No, we're still talking. I've been hesitant to make predictions in the past, and continue to be hesitant to do so. So, let's still a few days to go. We'll continue to talk, and we'll see where it takes us.
Sandy, you said that a lot of emotions went through your mind when you heard about the shock, the poll. What was the first thing that came to your mind when you heard this? How much shock were you in to hear this?
Well, I was totally shocked, incredulous, whatever the right term is, that this could happen so swiftly on the heels of a past suspension. Just couldn't understand it.
Tony, just what do you suppose motivates someone to do something like that after having been punished for it once already?
Tony, I honestly don't know whether there was motivation, whether it was inattention. I don't know. It's just hard to, you don't want to indict someone without all the facts. So I just can't imagine what was involved.
Sandy, so this is a test that was taken between his reinstatement on July 7th and this week?
I can't tell you those details. I don't know whether Major League Baseball can or not. So I can't tell you that he failed a test before his reinstatement or after his reinstatement.
He was tested during his suspension?
I believe so, yes.
Sandy, have you spoken to Henry, and if so, what was his?
I have not spoken to Henry.
Because you completed the deal essentially for Clippard before you found out about this, are you again looking for another reliever for the bullpen, or you think you're set there?
I'd be surprised if we go after somebody else at this point. I think we were able to accomplish an upgrade in experience, which was, the essential thing we were looking to do.
Sandy, you said quickly you hadn't spoken to Henry. Do you plan to?
Possibly, yes.
Any last ones?
Sandy, obviously a busy day here today with David Wright here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a sense of when he could start playing in rehab games? And maybe at the end of a homestand, is that the time to kind of reassess?
I think what we're going to do is, he'll continue baseball activity through the end of the homestand. We'll take another look at it at that time and see where he is.
Sandy, I'm just curious, how surprised, if at all, were you to see Tulowitzki traded, somewhere else besides here last night?
I was a little surprised, but without getting into the issues of where he was traded and what have you. I was a little surprised.
One, two more.
With you guys being 2 games out, do you feel confident with the roster that you have? You've maintained pace all season with Washington, either 2 games up, 2 games out, to stay with them the rest of the year with what you have right now?
Well, we'll see. They're getting some players back. They may have gotten them back tonight or will tomorrow. We've added some players. We expect to get more players back. I'm sure their roster will change a little bit before the deadline, could change a little bit before the deadline. Ours might as well, I think, and could change after the deadline. But I think, we're competitive in our division, and we're not 2 games ahead. We're 2 games behind, but, we're right there.
So that is the Mets general manager, Sandy Alderson, live out at Citi Field on the heels of the news that Jenrry Mejia has tested positive for a second time. First time was an 80-game suspension. According to Major League Baseball rules, 162-game suspension this year, this time without pay, and that a third violation is a permanent suspension from Major League Baseball.